Welcome to the Athlete Insights Podcast, hosted by Yash Pad Day, a podcast focused on letting athletes tell their journeys in their sport. This podcast is presented by Boxed Water. Boxed water is better.
Welcome into another episode of the Athlete Insights Podcast. Today's guest is Jack Bies. He's the head equipment manager for the Ball State University football team. So, Jack, thank you so much for taking time. I know you said you just ended spring ball a couple weeks ago, so you guys got some downtime. But thanks so much for coming on and kind of chopping it up with me, man.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, with this, I want to kind of go back to kind of your early days, and with the way I structure my podcast as we talk about the beginning up to where you are now and kind of where your career is now. So kind of going back to your early days, what initially drew you to football and sport over other things?
Shoot, I was playing sports since I was little. Like,
Gotcha.
I don't remember the exact age I got on ice skates and started doing all that with probably hockey. Hockey was always the first love. Grew up in Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin up there. And, hockey was always the first love.
Yeah.
And then I was 6 and I decided I didn't want to play hockey anymore. Moved over to football. Played football from 6 to 18. First grade, kindergarten there, all the way through high school.
Yep.
I played baseball for many years there, but pretty much played everything besides soccer. Soccer's the only sport I didn't play.
Gotcha.
And then I guess I can get into. Do you want me to get into equipment now too? How I got into equipment?
Yeah. Well, I'll touch on that
Okay.
As well. But is there, from your experience playing football, from you said 6 to 18, is there a core memory that stands out to you in that regard?
Yeah. You always have a lot of memories.
Yeah.
Some are probably good, some are bad, some are concussions, some are winning and competing for championships. Probably just everything, and you probably hear it a lot, is just kind of the team building. All those guys, still close friends with a lot of those guys. Still can call them at any time of the day.
Yeah.
And chop it up with them. And like I said, a lot of those kids I played ball with. There's about 5 or 6 of us that played ball together from 6 years old all the way to high school. So
Yeah.
Or through high school. So
it's just those,
like I said, just those kind of those. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The team bonding and team, camaraderie is kind of that memory, like you said, I guess is what you're alluding to there. Correct. If I'm not wrong, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Camaraderie. Love it. It's a great word. It's a great thing. And honestly, that's why I do sports. That's why I love sports. And that's why I think they're so awesome. Is those kind of that camaraderie, that bond, that
gotcha.
This kind of that family, that you got, that rock.
I gotcha. And then so after your playing career at the high school level is over, you come to Ball State. And again, from my experience working with the video staff at Ball State, I used to see around with Ryan McGorry, who we both know, in the equipment staff. So can you talk a little bit about kind of your start in equipment and working in equipment and working with Magoo and that process early on when you first got here to Ball State?
Yeah. So, like I said, I played sports my whole life. I wanted to play. I realized I wasn't that good of an athlete to go play at the collegiate level. Maybe some D3 ball or something like that. But
gotcha.
I didn't really find anything at that I liked. So I decided I was going to come to Ball State. And when I decided I was coming to Ball State, I reached out to the team because I had no idea. When I was in high school or anything like that, when I was younger, that equipment was a thing. I never really thought about it. And I think there's a lot of people that don't, you just see everything show up on game day and you don't really pay attention to how it got there or why it got set up or why it's done this way or that kind of stuff. And I had no idea. So when I reached out to the team because I wanted to get into coaching and see what kind of stuff was available that way, Ryan McGorry reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to come be equipment manager. So kind of got into it that way and started as a freshman. Gotcha. Came down early to school and started as a freshman and did that for 4 years.
Gotcha. And that was you might have answered it a little bit, but I'll ask it, is in football or at sport, there's many different areas you can get involved with, like recruiting, ops, video, obviously equipment. what kind of inspired you to go that route, the equipment route?
I like being. I personally like being behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So we get
Gotcha.
to do in the equipment field.
Yeah.
We're in charge of a lot. You know what I mean? A lot of people think it's just laundry, but we're any shirt that you see anybody wearing on any team, we're in charge of that. Any jersey design, we're in charge of that.
Mhm.
Helmets designs. You know what I mean? Anything that is put on the field, we have a say in how it's going to look and how it's going to work.
I got you.
So at the end of the day, I kind of like being behind the scenes with that. I like doing all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
um, Interaction. You know, I mean, I get to interact with the kids every single day.
Yep.
So, you know, I mean, get that interaction and just kind of taking pride of like, hey, like I did that. You know what I mean? When someone's like, oh, that jersey's sweet. I
Mhm.
came up with that jersey. Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So just kind of that. You know, I mean, obviously we got to work within parameters. We can't just go and wing things, but
Yeah.
at the same time, to be able to kind of do some of the behind the scenes work is probably what I enjoy most.
That's great. So, and then you spend your 4 years as a student assistant in equipment at Ball State, and then you had a couple internships, right? Or did you
I
not?
did. So when I was a student still,
Yeah.
in 2018, I
Yep.
got to work with the Baltimore Ravens. So
Yep.
that would have been Lamar's rookie year, all those guys.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, I went to Jacksonville.
Okay. Can
I
you
got to
talk
work with the
about
Jacksonville
the
Jaguars.
experience that you gained from being in the NFL, working in the NFL, working in internship in NFL equipment versus collegiately, and that experience?
Yeah. So at the time, you don't really think about it. But that experience, that's impacted me a lot on the
Mhm.
way that I handle my equipment room now as a head guy. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? You get to
Yeah.
see just the kind of the professional side of it. Um, Everything from how to treat people to how to organize things
Yeah.
to how to work with administration and different people that you got to work with. Because that's another thing that I really like about equipment. I guess going back to the last question
Mhm.
too, is that in equipment, we get to work with everybody. You're working with players every day, coaches every day, sports medicine, strength staff,
Yeah.
operations, and then that's just people in the building. You also get to go work with everybody outside the building, in administration and the people in facilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The workshop, the carpentry shop, motor pool. Like you get to impact and have a working relationship with everybody on campus, which
Yeah.
I kind of find interesting. And I like as part of the job.
And again, it goes back to we were talking about that core memory of camaraderie and building those relationships. And that's great to hear kind of how equipment allows you to not just build relationships within the football world or football circle at Ball State, but overall campus leaders and the entirety of campus as well. So uh,
Yeah.
great to and it's great to see how you said you've taken that experience from Baltimore and Jacksonville and incorporated it into your equipment strategy and equipment room now and how you handle things. So it's great to see that play out. But before you became the head guy here at Ball State, you were at Furman University, right? So
Correct. Correct.
can you talk about your experience at Furman and kind of how what the process was like at Furman and your overall experience there?
Yeah. So my plan actually was not to get into equipment. My degree is in criminal justice criminology,
Uh-huh.
minor in homeland security and emergency management.
Yeah.
So during 2020, I was actually doing an internship with the U.S. Marshals. I wanted to
Okay.
get in federal government.
Yeah.
The way I saw it is a lot of professional teams have visiting clubhouse managers.
Mhm.
So you kind of just work games and kind of help the visiting team what they need to do. So
Yep.
my plan was to try to go work for the federal government, and kind of do equipment on the side. Obviously, 2020 hit, COVID impacted everybody a little differently.
Yeah.
From there, we moved home and Furman gave me an opportunity to move down there. It was an internship. I was making $400, $400 a month, $100 a week, pretty much is what it came out to.
Mm,
And got to go down there and do that as an intern for one season.
mm,
Um, and then from there, I was blessed, very blessed to have the opportunity to become the head guy. After that, the head guy left. I took a sales job in sporting industry, kind of selling sporting goods and doing different stuff.
mm,
And I was blessed to become the head guy at Furman for a season.
yeah.
And then after that, I was blessed to be able to get a call from from Coach New, and come on back to Ball State.
Yeah. No, that's great. And again, it's all about I tell my student athletes that I've coached and been through, it's all about, stacking opportunities. And so you mentioned COVID as being that crisis for everybody where everybody was impacted, but taking advantage of the little opportunities and the smaller opportunities and building out. And so it's great to see kind of where how you've come and where you're at now, and now you're the head guy. At Ball State. And so wanted to kind of touch on before we get to the end here, wanted to kind of touch on your daily responsibilities as a head guy. So give me kind of a typical day in your life in terms of how a head equipment manager, what their responsibilities are, what they do.
Yeah, so I'll run through 2 different weeks. I'll run through an off-season week and then an in-season week
Gotcha.
because they're a little different from each other.
Yeah.
So off-season right now, we just ended spring ball. Guys have kind of discretionary workouts. You know what I mean? So some light workouts.
Mhm.
Coaches are getting ready to go on the road. So this week is kind of all you got laundry every day. That's kind of guaranteed. You got to get that done at some point in the day.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's working on getting orders. You know what I mean? Getting all the orders and stuff finished. Checking up on orders that are coming in, right? Because right now is when we finish up all orders and
Yeah.
start to get stuff in for next season.
Yeah.
And so we're inventorying, we're getting orders put together, checking orders in, and then we're also working towards just different things in the sense of getting packages put together. So every year when guys show up, right, we give all the coaches kind of a gear package. Players get a gear package,
Yep.
get all that stuff done. So that's kind of a day-to-day sense of getting all those projects put together. A certain day during the off season.
Gotcha.
And then you got to add in, everybody loves to golf. You got to set your tee time at 3:30. Make sure you get out and go play a little golf.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just messing with you. Seriously messing with you.
Hey, I'm a big golf guy. You know that, so
Yeah. We try to get out, and like I said, you gotta enjoy the time because, as you know, and everybody else that comes on this show knows, season's a grind. So when we get into the season, Mondays are our player off days.
Yep.
Tuesday, Wednesday are harder practice days.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday's a walkthrough. Friday is like a fast Friday, so helmets only practice.
Yep.
And then Saturday we got the game.
Yep.
So on our schedule, we are packing Monday, Tuesday. You're loading the truck Wednesday, Thursday, and truck's out of there Thursday, Friday to get down to the stadium. And then Fridays are setup days. So we'll get there. We go to the stadium beforehand as equipment staff.
Gotcha.
And that's when we put all the work in to make sure, when everybody sees the cute little uniform pictures of stuff in a locker. That's what we're doing on Fridays. We're making sure we go to the locker room and that everything's there and organized to put together, and every locker set up for coach and player.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you do everything you need to do during the week, I always tell people our easiest day of the week should be game day. We should just be able to hang out and kind of enjoy the game.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Gotcha. So it's great. You provided that perspective of the off season and kind of, and you're right. You got to enjoy your time in that off season because, like you said, the season starts and, I know you guys are prepping for the next week's game as soon as the Saturday game ends. You're preparing for next week's game and going through that process. And so, I know how tough it is when during the season and in that process. But no, it's great to kind of get both sides of it all, off season and in season, and get both perspectives. And so, what has been, or what's the biggest challenge as a head guy here at Ball State and your one season at Furman? What's the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome going from an intern to being the head guy and having building all those relationships and stuff?
Yeah. I guess there's two, right? There's two challenges that come to mind. One at Furman at the FCS level, and even here at Ball State, when you go on the road, you're not going to the best facilities, right? So trying to manage and fit everybody into some of those facilities, make those facilities work, are always a challenge each given week when you're on the road. To make sure everybody's comfortable. You know what I mean? Getting ready to go play that game. Everybody's ready to go with that. The other thing that's tough again at the levels I've been at is the money. You know what I mean? We don't have the money. You know what I mean? I know, like everybody thinks that football does this, football gets whatever they want. At the end of the day, yeah, I mean, we don't have the money to go spend and just get something new every time, or just order a bunch of extra things. So you got to be smart with what they give you to be able to take care of everybody, provide what everybody needs.
Yeah.
But also, you don't, you know, I mean, you can't just
Overspend.
fix it by an order. Yeah, I mean, you got to go be a handyman sometimes and go fix things or build things, or you know what I mean, kind of make things work and be flexible on sizes. And no, the other part of the challenge too is a lot of us that wear Nike know that Nike don't fit the same every year. It might be the same shirt. It's going to say the same name. It's going to be the same price, but one year it'll fit like an extra large. One year it'll fit like a 2X, and the next year it's going to fit like a large. So kind of being smart as a head guy in that sense and knowing, hey, this is the piece we're getting in. Hey, everybody asks for a large, but they're all going to go up a size. So let's be proactive. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing in the equipment room is being proactive. You know what I mean? Let's be proactive on the way you're thinking as a head guy. As an assistant, you can kind of get away with being reactive, being kind of told, hey, this is my job, this is what I need to do. As the head guy, you got to be proactive. You got to be proactive about your next order. You got to be proactive about where you're going. You know what I mean? How that setup's going to look. You got to be proactive of what coaches are going to want for drills in a practice. You got to be proactive and just always thinking ahead. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's day ahead, sometimes it's an hour ahead, sometimes it's 7 months in ahead. You know what I mean? Because we're going down to Miami this year. And that's an 18, 19-hour drive. So how, you know what I mean, with the truck and the truck driver, you got to be, you know what I mean, you're already thinking ahead of when do I got to send him to make sure he's there and we have everything ready to go.
Yeah. No, I got you. Yeah, no. Just seeing those challenges of like, you know, obviously like, and I get this here when I'm at Northern Colorado as well, where, you know, football, you know, the perception is that football has all the money and they're doing all that stuff. But it's like you said, is, you know, there's not always, and different companies. I mean, you bring up a great point. Different companies fit different, right? Like UNC here is an Under Armour school. And so like Under Armour has different sizes, different fits and things like that versus Nike. So again, the fit and the facilities as well, me being in the FCS currently, you know, at the school I'm at. So it'll, you know, the facilities also are a big challenge. So I liked how you brought that up as well, and kind of how you go through that process and build that out. So but before we end the episode, I always give my guests a chance to give young aspiring sport people that want to work in sport opportunities for advice and things of that nature. So Jack, I want to turn it to you. What piece of advice would you give to students? This is kind of a two-part question. What piece of advice would you give to young individuals that want to work in football, specifically equipment? And also what skills would you say are really kind of the main skills you need, or essential skills you need to be successful to work in equipment?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I would say is, we would tell athletes, I hear our athletes told this all the time at the Division I level. Your playing day is going to come to an end, right? So mine came to an end in high school. Some people give college a try and ends in a year. Some people end in middle school, but equipment will give you that opportunity. And every school you go to, right? If you're a high school kid right now, you don't really want to play, but you want to be involved. Every college you go to is looking for an equipment manager, looking for a student equipment manager. So everywhere you go needs one. Everywhere you go is going to, be willing to probably accept you. Unless if you show up to Alabama, this is probably going to be a waiting list. It's going to be a little tougher, but most schools, unless they're not a top 25 school, they're gonna accept you. And it's a simple email to either the equipment manager or the school, or just popping in and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in working in the equipment room."
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the biggest skill is you just got to be willing to work hard. You got to be dedicated, showing up, because it's not easy. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be a lot of hours. You're going to be up late, right? You're going to be the first one in the building. You're going to be the last one to leave.
Yeah.
And you got to just know that it's not going to have all the glory. I mean, you're not going to get an award for this, that, and the other. But again, you're going to be able to see all those guys. And when those guys come up to you after a game, after you won a championship, or after you do something, and they come up to you and say, "Hey, thank you. I mean, you made an impact." That's our reward.
Yeah.
So really just the time commitment and hard working, people person, right? You're dealing with people all day long. You got to have good people skills, and be able to relate to others. You got to be able to, talk to people from all different backgrounds. Because as we know in sport, and especially on a team with 120 kids, you got 35 staff members, and they're always changing. You're going to meet people from every kind of background, every kind of situation, every kind of different little path. So you got to be able to relate to everybody and be able to be a good people person in that side of things.
No, that's great. That's great advice. And again, that's just great advice, not just in equipment, but for life as well, right? Being a people person, understanding other people and being interactive and being like we talked about, being proactive about things as well is an important, essential, not just a sport skill, but a life skill as well. So I like how you touched on all those things there. But that's all the time we have for this episode of the Athlete Insights podcast. Again, Jack, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and again and talk with me and be willing to be on and share your thoughts and insights on working in the equipment room and being a head equipment manager now. And so wish you guys the best of luck next year. I'll be rooting you guys on. I'll be a little closer to home, so I'll be rooting you guys on. And no, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights. But you can follow. I'll have Jack's social media on the video and then in the description on YouTube. And then you can follow my podcast as well on YouTube, Spotify, basically everywhere you get podcasts. You can listen and watch and follow the podcast as well. So Jack, once again, appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.